worldviews, where basically it's like, oh, this electron is here at this point, but really, it's not here. It's everywhere, and it only exists when you interact with it. So its separate identity is not even true. It's only identified through relationships. So that's probably the most important part of the Tao physics. And it's perfectly explained in the Doubleslit Experiment. Okay. Yeah. There is some cool. Okay. Near the end of the lecture, I'll show you guys something pretty cool. Or I'll just do it now. Okay. So but then some people do ask the questions. Can consciousness interact with physical matter or the probability fields? So I just want to show you guys this really cool website, because the Doubleslit Experiment does it. And a lot of people says, oh, this proves that reality is created by the observer. No. That just proves that there's no such thing as separate entities, that things are only defined through relationships, in a general sense. But this is kind of, so there's this thing called PAIR. It's not edible, but Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research. And it's basically this really, really cool lab where they this person said, okay, if people are thinking about changing the outcomes of random number generators and stuff like that, can that affect the random number generators? And they've basically done thousands and thousands of studies over multiple apparatuses, and they basically found yes. And so this kind of blows their mind. Maybe we can watch a little bit, just a couple minutes of it.
Experiment I'm aware of requires for its validation.
Is that a Princeton University?
Physical theories need to be expanded for their purposes.
This random event generator is essentially an electronic coin flipper. According to statistics, if you flip a coin 10 times, you would expect to get 5 heads. If you got 6 heads, you wouldn't think much of it. But if you flip the coin 10 million times and got 6 million heads, you would know that some process was having an influence on the outcome. This machine does 200 flips per second. When left unattended, it performs in a statistically normal way.
Yeah, I don't really want to take too much time to go over it, but basically what they found is that when people are focusing on random number generators or other things, they change the probability distribution of what's being created. And different people have different effects. They found that women have slightly different effects than men. And there's other things like that. I know, it's crazy. I would recommend looking at this video because they go into it and they talk about it here. And they basically said that the chance of of all the experiments that they've done over 30 years not being true is 1 in a trillion.
The chance that it's due to chance?
Yeah, the chance that it's due to chance is 1 in a trillion. So it's almost certain that people are influencing the probability distributions of these probability fields on macroscopic to microscopic levels. Yeah, so I believe that consciousness is interrelated with physical matter in multiple ways, as we will find more about in neuroscience too. But understanding quantum physics is pretty cool too. Okay. Also something more is that energy is always transforming. This is a thing from the Tao physics. So this is a particle, and this is a particle at another place in time. But there's probabilities that this particle can just decay because, due to the uncertainty principle, the change in, it's possible for it to lose energy or gain energy within a certain bandwidth. And so it can just lose energy and split, and then split again, and then have interrelationships. And this is going backwards in time. Antiparticles going backwards in time. So, but then at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. So there's this whole virtual particle web. So every time you see, these little particles can be in different states at any time. So this whole idea of okay, here are these different quarks, here are these anti-quarks, so separate entities, particle physics is not part of, it's webs of relationships, interrelationships of energy, and webs. And so this is just yeah, this is just showing some stuff. Yeah. So it's also possible for, within one of these space-time diagrams, right here, for something to go backwards in time and interact with something. So if you're viewing this a a linear time, here, 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 that's how we view time, right now, next second, next second, next second. So if you view time like this diagram does not make sense at all. It only makes sense when you're like, okay, here's the future, here's the past. Now what interrelationships are existing within that? So quantum physics like expands our worldview, like, and that's the same thing with relativity. It's not just like the three-dimensional universe with 1D time. It's like a much, much more complex thing, and then like particles are really waves that can be defined anywhere, and by looking at it, it collapses it. So there's a lot of things that are going on. And one of the other things that's really crazy, really crazy, is entanglement. Or do you have something on the last slide?
Yeah, it was just to go back to that video you showed us, if you don't mind.
The quantum one, or
the one that you just showed us about the probability
Yeah.
of the Princeton experiment. So if it was like all done using machines, like